Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 4 of the Chino and the Cholo. I'm G the Chino.
I'm Mike the Cholo. Sorry, guys. I'm so out of it. I will say this. I do apologize. It's my fault, guys, for the past, was it 2 weeks or week? Yeah, past 2 weeks. I've been busy trying to reopen the restaurant, and I wasn't available. So that's my bad, guys. But hopefully, we're gonna find a better schedule to be this more consistent. But
Yes,
holy hell, man! Whew.
a lot going on. I also missed last week in general, so it just kind of worked out best to just skip last week. uh,
Oh,
because I got confused thanks to the whole NBA playoffs. I thought it was at 9, so I got ready at 9 to watch, and then I flip it on, and the main event's on, and I'm like, what the hell happened?
no, you know what threw me off was I thought Dark Late Night was actually or Late Night Dynamite was the actual show.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that they were doing one on Tuesday and then one on Wednesday.
Ah,
You know what I mean? So I only caught the Tuesday one, and then I was like, wait a minute, this card has nothing to do. Like, are they promoting something about tomorrow or the Moxley thing? I'm like, why? I thought it was supposed to be tonight. And then I was just so confused, and I was just like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then I find out as I'm driving back to San Antonio, like halfway through, like the show was on. I was like, "What the hell?" But long story short, some people got COVID, and they switched the whole card up. So
yes,
it was kind of almost like a filler episode. So nothing was really. It was pretty much a postponement. But
yes. So it was a good time for us to miss the episode and postpone our podcast.
okay.
Um, and then we were busy filming Mike's video and our 500 bowl of ramen video. So all you San Antonians that tune into the podcast, check that out on this YouTube page because I think I already uploaded it or it's coming out soon.
By the way, so I'm a very private person, so I don't like I don't like being filmed. I don't like pictures of me. It's just how I am, Like I'm the type of guy where I just put my head down and I just work hard, And man, you edited and I was like, when I was watching the video, I was like, this guy, this jerk got me in the video.
It made the
Yeah,
bowl look epic. Okay.
I would say this. It was a really good shot. I really like the shot, but I was like, man, I don't have a hat on. My hair is a mess. And then when me and Natasha did the video, I was wearing my sandals. And I was like, oh, God. This is what it's come down to.
It is funny because we were laughing because she was like, the audio on hers was kind of bad or whatever, staticky. And she's like, but the same thing happened on the first time she interviewed you that the audio didn't work out either. And she's like, maybe it's just cursed. Maybe I'm just not meant to interview Mike.
Or maybe it's me.
Yeah, she's like, maybe we should just had him without his mask. And then I didn't realize that your vent made that much of that much noise.
Yeah, and
It didn't sound that loud when we were in there.
I was telling Donna, like, the next, if we ever shoot there again, hey, Arya, shut up. Why do you always do this? Sorry, guys. I was telling Donna, like, the next time we do this, we should just remind me of childhood event, and I can't.
Well, I have the other mic that I should have put on because that like tunes out a lot of the outside noise. I just didn't use it because there were so many of us, so I figured the regular mic off the camera would work, and I forgot that takes everything in and amplifies it. So that was on me, but it would have been fine. It wasn't too bad. But check it out. Check out the 500 bowl of ramen that we tried, which was amazing. And let's jump in here to some AEW now. So I gotta say this BTE was one of my favorite episodes. Which is what we start with first here is BTE. So you have the Dark Order singing Cody's theme song, and Mr. Brody Lee walks in, and he's like, "What the fuck are y'all singing?" And he's like, "We're singing the Mr. Brody Lee theme song," and he's like, "Go ahead and sing it." So then they're like swapping out the words, and it's hilarious. He's like, "I like that shit. Keep singing my theme song."
Oh, it's so weird. Like, it's like, why are they singing his theme songs? So, like, I think I mentioned this before. I didn't like the Dark Order. I thought they were like kind of a joke and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Then, like, the more on BT, I was like, oh yeah, I like them. I like them. They have a good dynamic with how like Mr. Brody's all serious, and then like the other ones are just like they have like the two goofballs, and they're just like all over the place.
Yeah, and I just think it too. It kind of plays to the silliness of what the Elite used to be before they had to start, where they started incorporating storylines where they were just kind of like dumb with it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why I like it, because it still brings back that old essence of BT, what originally got them started. Of course, I forgot it opened up with uh, Brandon talking on the phone with Hangman again. Why? I think it's Matt goes and destroys his laptop for like about 5 minutes.
Dude, he went to town on that thing.
He's all drop kicking it and having a blast with it, which is, yeah, it's exactly 5 minutes, and then he just turns around and is like, "What the fuck happened to my laptop?" So that was just great. Kind of the playback on the whole cake scene from like 2 weeks ago. Then they rolled into Walmart and still no action figures, which still in town. There's no action figures either.
They're not gonna find them.
Yeah, no. And that's that. I think Series 2 should be coming out here, I think, in the next like week or two. Which will have MJF, Moxley, and the Lucha Bros in this next series coming out.
Oh, I definitely want the MJF one.
Yeah, me too. Let me see. There's Pro Wrestling Toys, Pro Wrestling Collectibles. I forget what it's called. I think Pro Wrestling or Ringside Collectibles. If you're looking for unique wrestling toys, AEW or WWE, that's the place to go. But they are still doing the pre-orders for Series 2. Where is Series 2 at? Yeah, so Series 2 is very expensive. Oh, those are just a collector's protective case. Yeah, so it's going to be MJF, the Lucha Brothers, Hangman, Moxley, and Dustin in Series 2.
Wait, say that again?
So it's going to be Moxley, Hangman, MJF, the Lucha Brothers, and then Dustin Rhodes for Series 2.
Oh, I definitely want to get MJF.
You can, I guess they stopped taking pre-orders because they were doing pre-orders for the whole, like collection, but it looks like they're currently not taking any more pre-orders. And then the little bit of the bubbly, which I still kind of want to get, Chris Jericho exclusive, is in back order till February of next year.
Jesus.
But it comes in the little bit of the bubbly bottle, and he's inside, and it comes with the table, the breakable table, the championship shirt, the AEW belt, 2 bottles of bubbly, the bucket to put it in, the meats and the olives that he eats, and the 2 yellow cups from the whole post speech he gave after he won the title. Wait. And that is exclusively for $35.
Are you talking about the real bubbly, or are you talking about toys right now?
The toys.
Oh, I was like, damn.
But they made an exclusive, like, little bit of the bubbly action figure for Chris Jericho, where he's actually, all the stuff fits inside a bottle of the bubbly. Like, it's like a plastic bottle, but they made it look like the champagne bottle, and you can put the toys in there.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Oh, that's cool. That's smart. By the way, I got an email from the cruise line, the Cruise of Jericho, saying that if we sign up for a wait list and we want to get a cabinet, that they'll throw on the free drinks instead of paying the $99, that you get a free drink. Like, maybe this is what I need to look into, but
sounds like it. We're gonna have to, for the sake of this podcast.
I can't.
Only right,
dude. So if anything happens on that cruise show, I'm fucked. Just don't even worry about me. Just let me drown.
Right, just throw you over the water. It's fine.
I mean, I'm dead man, dude. I'm DOA if that happens.
Yeah, me too. I can't swim either, so
both of us.
It's fine. We'll just hang on to the table, the door.
We'll literally have like an AEW match on the door.
Right. The ship is sinking. The next match is an elimination match. The last group of people that can sit on this door lives. Ready, go. Okay, so back to BTE. I guess I checked with toys. But back to BTE. So after the whole looking for the toys, they go back and is it Alex? Not Alex Reynolds. Um, number 2, 3, whatever his name is. Um, continues his whole skit about that he can beat up everybody and he's not scared of anybody. And Uno's telling him, I guess the week before his episode, that he got him disqualified or something. So he's like, don't beat up people unless I say so. And he's like, so I can beat up John Silver as long as you say so. And he's like, right, as long as I say so, you can beat up John Silver. And he's like, oh, I can't beat him up. Okay, I'll be back. So then he leaves, and that's when Anna Jay keeps bringing him back like a lost puppy. And then she walks off, and then of course Uno's like, thanks, Anna. So then from there, it jumps into this awkward, weird. We have a bunch of Mexicans now in AEW, so let's just make a random skit with them speaking Spanish. So it's Santana, or it's Ortiz and is it Dasha? Yeah, Dasha. That supposedly that they're in a secret relationship. So he shoves her in the refrigerator, and then Kip Sabian comes out. And he's like, I told you don't trust Dasha. She's not who she says she is. And he's like, everybody keeps telling me that. Hager comes out, says the same thing. It's pretty comedic genius. And then Ortiz goes to pray as Thunder Rosa comes out and pulls Dasha out of the refrigerator. And I forget what happens after that. But
it becomes Marco's stunt, right?
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yes. So then she chokes her out and he becomes Marco's stunt. And that's where like, it just ends.
We love each other. We truly love each other.
Yes, which is even funnier when you remember the whole rumor that they started about Marco when they were doing the Cheeseman episode like about a month or so back. So that also makes it funny. Then it cuts to Brandon talking to Matt Hardy about how the Bucks are being weird and that they're just destroying shit and they're not caring. And Matt's like, it seems like they seem to be broken. And he's like, but I can go ahead and try to help fix them like they helped me when I was broken. And then Brandon's like, okay, cool, but can we like not be sitting on the floor in the middle of the arena here? I'm trying to remember here. So then from there it cuts to
they were sitting in the same exact spot. He's like, I'm gonna sit in the same exact spot where it happened. He's like, yes.
Oh, I didn't catch that part. Okay, yeah. They're the same spot where they fall off the scaffold.
That was hilarious.
And then you cut to Christopher Daniels, which for Halloween, make sure you get your "This is the worst Halloween" shirt ever. Which is also "This is the worst year ever." Like my 2 favorite shirts from them now.
I actually have that shirt.
Do you? I want to get the Halloween one now. And then I don't remember what Christopher Daniels said, but I think I was just talking about him like retiring, no? Something like that.
You said that?
I don't know. I think he's questioning his future. Let me see here.
I mean, he is like 50 though. He doesn't look 50, but he is. Yeah. He is old. He's getting up there.
That's what I was talking about. I don't know. I'm playing it back, but can't remember. Oh, he's like deciding to quit, but then he's like, this isn't my first day, but this won't be my last day, and then he just gets up and leaves. Which I thought that was pretty crazy when I was watching Dynamite, and he came out and he's just like in a dress suit. I'm like, man, I remember the days when I was like in high school when he used to wrestle AJ Styles and Samoa Joe like all over the Impact Zone for like ever. I was like, man, this guy's cool, and now he's just some old guy that comes out with the other two. So it's just amazing how time flies. Then of course, like we mentioned, it cuts to the Dark Order doing the Cody Rhodes theme songs, Mr. Brody Lee. And then I love how Anna Jay is just always like chilling in the corner. She never says anything. She's just in there because she's part of the Dark Order.
They just go 99, and then she's pretty much the bouncer.
Yeah, and then they ask what happened to John Silver, and they tell Mr. Brody Lee that he went to go cut his dad's dick.
Yeah,
So that he's like, bring him on a call and they bring him on FaceTime and he's like, "What's up, guys? I'm just enjoying my day off," and or that he's in camp or sword school or something, and then Mr. Brody Lee's like, "I thought you were cutting your dad's dick off," and he was like, "Well, yeah, I have to learn how to work the sword before I go and go cut him." So then Mr. Brody Lee flashes him. Well, he flashes everybody first. It's like, cut dick like this," and then he shows them, and then everybody freaks out, I guess, and then it cuts back. I like the new Dark Order shirt, the recruitment specialist. I thought that shirt's pretty funny. Where it's Silver and Reynolds on there, and they have a picture of Kool-Aid.
Oh yeah.
Then it cuts to is it Brandon's camera? They cut behind the scenes and they kind of just show you like how they do the cuts for Moxley when he comes out, which I thought was pretty cool as a video production nerd. It's cool seeing the trailer. Then you had our favorite segment, a public swole announcement. I forget what her announcement was this time. Oh yeah, about slow people needing to move out of the highway. I really don't think her segments are funny.
No, I'm not. She's annoying. I don't like her.
I just like that one with Ricky. Like, God damn it, Ricky. Then of course they go back to Eddie Kingston with him. I guess that's his gimmick of doing promos now. I guess it's gonna run like the way that they did Scorpio Sky and the Candy bit. I'm assuming that's how it's gonna be, where they're just gonna make him cut promos on random stuff. So he had Sour Patch Kids this week, and it was, one of those shoot promos because he's talking about how they're not gonna go anywhere if they just let the Sour Kids run the asylum or something like that. So it's a pretty cool play on words and everything there. But my favorite part of the whole episode, Best Friends and Orange Cassidy trying to kill Brandon again still, and how they're talking about putting his head in the microwave. And they're like, what about his neck? His neck's not going to fit in the microwave. And then, of course, John Silver shows up telling them that he wants them to join Dark Order. So Best Friends have the idea that what if they get him to kill Brandon, and then their problems are solved, and then they'll join the Dark Order. So John goes and starts beating up Brandon after they tell him he's like right there holding the camera. So he goes to beating him up. And they're like, whoa, if you're going to kill him, we're going to do it nicely. We're not just going to beat him up and let him die. And then the whole time, Orange Cassidy's like, yeah, there goes Ted. And they're like, no, his name's Brandon. And he keeps calling him different names throughout the whole segment. And I thought it was pretty funny.
Didn't he say something like, dude, like, why would you beat him up so violently? Like, why are you going to jerk him off before you kill him?
Yeah. And then they pick him up and they're like, Brandon, we're going to kill you. But if we're going to do it nicely and comfortably. We're not just going to beat you up savage like that stupid ass man boy John Silver. So that just made me laugh. And then Orange Cassidy's just like, yeah, whatever. So I thought that was one of my favorite segments out of the whole episode, stuff in general, which I didn't think that bit was going to be funny, but now coming down the line, it's starting to get a little bit funnier. But I always love it when they like plan it and then Brandon's like, hey, I'm right here. And they're like, no, not you, the other Brandon. And he's like, there's only one Brandon that works here. So, no, not you, the other Brandon. But overall, it was an entertaining episode of BTE. Pretty long too. That one was like 30 minutes. And then, of course, on Dark, nothing important happened that I know of. There's my notes here. So time to jump into some AEW Dynamite. So of course, Lance Archer's gone. I'm assuming he's gonna be back maybe next week here coming up, since it's what do you call it? It's been 2 weeks now that he's had COVID, so this should be when he's getting ready to come back. I was assuming that Brian Cage had it, but as we find out here in the opening segment, I guess he didn't, or he came back negative. As he shows up in this episode. So starting it off, you have Absolute Ricky Starks taking on Darby Allin. I do gotta say I'm kind of starting to really like Ricky Starks now. Um, just more for his cockiness of it.
Dude, I love Ricky Starks. I loved it when he did that promo. I told you a couple weeks he did a promo when he first came out as Darby Allin. He's just like,
I like
I
turtles.
I like turtles. I like sadness. He's fucking hilarious.
I know. Um, so I really would have liked him instead of joining Team Taz if he would like joined MJF. Could you imagine that the promos between them two?
I know the back and forth. Oh,
Like that would have been epic. Just like them three running on their own. But yeah, so they finally have their match after. Yeah, so Ricky Starks is on an 8-win streak because of Dark and not so much Dynamite, but more Dark. Against Darby Allin. This was built up as the rubber match, the match of it all, building up since Ricky took out Darby. Darby hit him with the thumbtacks on the skateboard. They put him in the put him in the body bag and breaking his neck in half. Of course, Ricky Starks comes out with the Darby Allin painted body bag and leaves it right there. So as soon as Darby Allin comes out, he sees the body bag. He picks it up as well, looks at it, and then they go in, start the match. Bang, bang, boom. About middle of the match, Brian Cage comes out to try to interfere, which at that point, Real Hobbs comes out, and then they break out into a fight on the stage. And then they end up leaving said stage to end the fight. And then Starks and Darby go at it again, back on one until finally, I missed it here. Yeah, Darby Allin hits him with the coffin drop and pins him. So Darby Allin gets the win, snapping the 8-match win streak of Ricky Starks.
It's hard to watch Darby Allin sometimes
Mm-hmm.
because he's just like, I don't want to say he's slow, but his matches seem very slow. I like watching Ricky Starks, but it's just for an opening match. I was like, I don't know how I feel about this match, but
I just feel like with a lot of these matches, I feel like they're giving pay-per-view caliber matches or matches that would build up to a pay-per-view on TV. Which I know WWE does that like all the time, and then they do like the 50-50 booking and mess it all up. But I mean, as much as they hyped this up, they could have easily just extended this for a little bit longer. They could have had maybe, set it up where they're like, you want to beat me, but you got to beat, well, I guess that doesn't help either. Because I was gonna say they can be like, well, Darby, you want to fight me, you got to beat Brian Cage, but then that hurts Brian Cage because then he gets a loss on Darby. But I mean, there's some other different combinations you could have done. I know, was it Full Gear is another like month away, but I felt like this was just kind of, especially as the opener, because openers are traditionally like a bunch of nobodies, or it's the match you can kind of skip because you're running late or they're just playing the nobodies. So I kind of feel like that's kind of weird that they put this as like the opener.
No, because what AEW is trying to do is like New Japan, where the openers are literally the openers to get the crowd hype.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what they do. If you notice, they do a lot of sometimes they'll have Cody on as the first match.
Mm-hmm.
The tag teams for just kind of do that. So I just thought, I don't know, it's just this match wasn't as fast paced as I thought it was going to be.
Nor did I feel like the run-ins were actually necessary. I know it's kind of to keep everything gelling while they wait for Lance Archer to come back, so that way they can do the 6-man tag still. But I just don't see it like it didn't have any purpose. Like obviously, yeah, he came out because of Ricky Starks, but Ricky Starks really wasn't in a position where he needed it. Like you really needed, for me, for that to happen, I would have needed like Darby Allin to like just be like dominating the whole match, and then like Starks or Cage coming out to help him out because he's getting his ass kicked. But even then, Taz hypes him up as like the perfect package and there, so it's like they really wouldn't need each other to come out to interfere. It's more like they're acquainted because they're perfect wrestlers, not so much like, oh well, Ricky needs the help, so I need to go out there and go beat him up. So that just didn't make any sense to me. Why there was a logical reason for him to come out other than just to come out. But overall, I mean, it was an okay opening segment. Now the new and approved black hair Cody Rhodes came out again
The
with his new
emo Cody Rhodes.
yes with his new Def was it American Nightmare Def logo, which is just a red logo now. Um, and of course, all the budget pyro for that night has to be used every time he comes out. Um, so yeah, he comes out. He talks about how he's mentally hurt because he talks about how Al Snow always told him that you're always gonna wrestle hurt. So he's like, I'm mentally hurt by getting beat in 3 minutes, but then you get the call that everybody wants, the call from Hollywood. He's like, you always pretend that you don't want it, but you do. So he jumps on the opportunity, plugs the new show he's gonna be on, mentioning all the judges: Snoop Dogg, Rosario Dawson, Jennifer Nettles. Um, then he talks about how just tradition in wrestling and together, where you have to like shake everybody's hands and stuff, because you realize that it's not just you on the marquee that makes it popular; it's the other person on the other side as well. So then he talks about how he let everybody down because he got beat in 3 minutes. Then talks about how everybody's calling themselves the future and the ace, and he's just like, "There's only 3 people that can do that: Hiroshita, Moxley, and then of course the current champion Brody Lee himself." Um, then Dasha finally asks him, like, "Are you going to accept the dog collar match that was issued last week?" And then he says, "No, as a VP, I have to say no." Then he walks off, waits a couple of minutes, comes back, says, "No, as in no regrets, no looking back. We leave different than when, or we enter different than when we leave." And then he says he accepts the dog collar match, which at that point, Brody Lee comes out. There's a big pull apart. Then Brandy randomly, for no reason, decides to come out and do a Santon off the top of the turnbuckle and takes out all of the Dark Order. And then Anna Jay comes and puts her in a chokehold. And then there's a women pull apart that happens. Then Nyla Rose just stomps the shit out of, I don't know who it is. It says Kaylin King, which I don't even know who that is. But she starts beating her up as well. And then they pan back to everybody freaking out. The one thing I love about this segment is John Silver trying to hold back Brody Lee before he climbs back into the ring, and he's just like dragging him with him inside the ring. I couldn't stop laughing. Um, so yeah, so then they're just keep doing this giant pull apart, and then Brody Lee leaves, pretending like he's done. Then he comes back running into the ring, but because of the ramp being steps, it looks awkward. Then they go again, and it just keeps going to eventually Brody Lee leaves, and that ends this whole segment.
That was just like a gay fight. It doesn't. Who's the people that sing that like it's like your bride's a whore or some shit like that?
Panic at Disco.
That's what he see. That's what he looks like. He belongs in that band.
Brandon something. I think Brandon Yui.
I was just like, I saw. I was like, Jesus, God, it's so bad, so awful.
Oh, and then it doesn't help because now it makes his tattoo pop more since he has black hair and the tattoo's colored.
And that's so. I got used to him being when he had blonde hair. I thought he looked really weird.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got used to it. I was like, okay, cool. Now I see him. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And you know what? It's because he's wearing all black. He's black on black on black. That's what it was.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the little purple.
Yeah, and that's what threw me off. I think that's what it was.
All I'm saying, Cody, is if you somehow watch his podcast, it's 2020 and an election. Give us back Bernard. I want Bernard the Bear back.
Bernard the Bear. We need Bernard.
Like, that would have been... See, that's what they should have done. I know it already happened and they let it in and out, but they should have had him, MJF feud with him for the title again, because they kind of just left it, like, open-ended. And then he could have done that. It would have been, like, Bernard versus MJF and, like, some type of debate, just like they did. Just like they did, and have them going back and forth and have them fight for the title that way. So yeah, I mean, it was a good segment. I felt like there was too many people in there because you really couldn't see what the hell was going on, and like it's just kind of weird because everybody like hit the ring before they even really started fighting. So it was like, why are y'all showing up? Like, for all you know, they could have just gone face to face before they started beating each other up.
My
Um,
was why did Nyla, like, that was so random.
hmm That's what I was saying too. Like that was completely random. I was like, I get it if it would have been maybe Tay Conti if she was the one doing the pull apart because they had their match before and that's kind of the last big match Nyla had. But yeah, it was just, and then I was like, I don't even know who that wrestler was. So I was like, okay, it was just like okay. Um,
Wrestler.
but I cannot wait till to see the dog collar match next week. That shall be a good one.
I can't wait either.
But I don't think Cody's gonna take it back. I think Brody Lee's gonna retain. Because if they just gave it to him just for that sake, then it'd be kind of dumb. But
So you give it back to him?
yeah, I think so. But you know, Cody likes to play the heroes, so it would make more sense that he like overcame all of them or something. But I feel like there should have been a little bit more build up before they did that. They should have saved that um for Full Gear, and then maybe just have Brody Lee just keep destroying the rest of the Nightmare family. Maybe have like after Anna Jay like beats Brandy, they like throw her into like a trash can or something. I don't know. Just build it up where it's like makes it worth it. Where he's like, I'm willing to like put the dog collar on and fight you because it was just like, oh, he squashed you, and now you're like, okay, I want a rematch, but this time we'll do a dog collar match. And it's just like, okay. So I guess the build up could have been a little bit better, especially since you know, like you said, everything's a slow burn here. So that just seems really fast to just throw in a dog collar match just to throw it in. But ratings, I guess. But onto that, we have poor Tony Schiavone doing a backstage interview with FTR. So they're there talking about how they didn't give best friends the 20 minutes of whatever the hell they call it, 20 minutes of glory or something. And then they're talking about how they're going to take on SCU, who was the first champs, and that they're ready to go ahead and beat SCU since they're legends to cement their legacy. At that point, the Young Bucks come out and they super kick Tony, and then they're like, "Oh, you guys are doing an interview. Wow, this is awkward. Okay, bye." So then like they leave, and then that's when FTR is like, "We're right here. You could have just kicked us. Like, we're right here. Why didn't you kick us?" Um, I was reading everywhere else where they're kind of like, they should have had more of a impact, seeing how it's Tony and it's a non-wrestler. But I'm kind of tired of this. It doesn't really make any sense to me. I mean, I know it's like they don't care, they do what they want, but it doesn't really make any sense as to why they're just tackling random workers there instead of actually going after wrestlers. It's just kind of weird.
It just shows that they're teetering. I think it's trying to show that they're teetering on the edge of being heels, you know, and that they're just like they want to show the more, I guess, a more aggressive side.
Well, my whole thing with all this is that even though the rankings don't count,
The rankings
most of the time
definitely don't count.
they're the number two. They're the number two ranked team behind Best Friends, and it's just like this whole like I'm taking out everyone doesn't make sense unless they would have been like not ranked, even though they were winning. If they were like, oh well, you know, you're not ranked, and they'd be like, oh well, we got no respect. You know, FTR is, you know, on top, and we're not moving up the rankings, even though we're beating everybody. Then that makes sense that you're super kicking everybody and their mom to try to get the point across, like we deserve the title shot, which is what the story should be. It should be that they got screwed over, they're at the bottom, and they're not getting any respect, but they're the number two ranked team. It doesn't really explain. It's just like, well, then challenge the number one team, have the match, then you move up to number one, and then you set up the FTR Bucks match. So it doesn't really. I get what they're trying to do, but it doesn't make as much sense story wise as if they would have had more adversity that gets them frustrated, which would have made a better story. Seeing how FTR is like, we run everything now.
It's their ranking system. It like first of all, they don't follow ranking system because TH2 is gonna face FTR for the titles next week or this week. Like, what the hell was that? Two,
Exactly.
like, if you look at the records, like they don't have so many people because of the pandemic, so like everyone's kind of facing each other. So like their records are not even like at 500 or it's like 7-6. So it's like it's stupid. But they don't even follow the rankings anymore. So it's like,
Hmm.
what's the point? They should have done like a point system. You know what I mean? A win
Yeah,
with many points, a win with disqualifications this many points. That makes more sense, and then you can kind of book even better. Losses, I guess 0 points or whatever. Like 2 losses is this many points. If you go to
hmm,
consecutive like wins, you get like so say you go like 3 wins in a row, then you
hmm,
get additional 5 points on top of the 1 point, or 2 points you get,
yeah.
something like that, which would okay, cool. So like if you lost, like yes, winning does matter, but if you lose, like it's you
That
know
is bad.
they
Yeah.
made it seem like records matter, but it's like dude, like if you're 7-6, like it's a joke, you
Hmm.
know. And a lot of the guys are 7-6. Like I think Darby Allin has a really bad record. Who else has a really bad record? There's some of the rest of them, they just have really bad records. It's just like, oh, but they're always still in the spotlight. They get a lot of TV time, and I
Hmm.
get, I understand why, but still, like,
Like Sunny Kiss and Joey Janela.
yeah,
What I think what should have been, well, what I would have gone with if I was booking this whole FTR Buck storyline is you have, and you can throw the rankings out for the sake of this, is having FTR be like, we're the champions, we get to pick our opponent, and then that justifies them having their match with H2O, their match with SCU because they're not as high on the rankings. But then on the flip side of that, the Bucks should be like, or they should be like, well, Bucks, you wanted to match with us, you haven't beat nobody. So then you have them do the opposite, have the Bucks take on all the top ranked tag teams and make them like barely get out, and then have like FTR going there trying to like cause them to lose, or just things there where it shows like as they keep going to the point where the Bucks take out everybody and there's nobody left, and FTR is running out of easy opponents, where it sets it up where we beat everybody, you've beat nobody. Let's actually put those belts to work, and then that builds up the match. But then that justifies, well, there's no rankings because FTR are the champions and they're just trying to take the easy way out because they're the heels, so they're gonna take on nobody. Kind of like the Floyd Mayweather effect, where he would pick his opponents that he knew he could beat. That way, he just looked good, even though he wasn't really fighting somebody as competitive as him at the time. So that would have been a good way to use not having rankings and still build a storyline without having the Bucks super kick everybody. And then the Bucks can do that too. They can like cheat their way because they're trying to like prove that they can beat the best tag team. So maybe have a match where they pull the tights, a match where they like use a weapon or something when the referee's down, and just built that they may be turning heel, but they're doing it because their end goal is just to get the title, which I think that's the whole like premise now of them trying to tease the heel, is that they're going to do what it takes to get the gold. It's just it doesn't make sense at the moment.
I think whatever the route they're gonna go, it's gonna pay off
Mm-hmm.
because their long payouts usually pay off.
Mm-hmm.
MJF, but we'll see where that's still going. But that's the only one that really didn't pay off. But um, whatever the payoff is, I think it's gonna be good.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I'm thinking that they're going to build MJF and Jericho just so there's a marquee match to help MJF get back the traction that he had after losing the Moxley. Because it's like, well, where else can you go from there? And it's like, well, technically, who has he beat yet that will give him like the marquee win that he has? What, he had Cody, but that was almost a year ago now. But other than that, what marquee win does he actually have on his record this year? So I'm thinking that's where you're gonna have him and Jericho. It's gonna build up him and Jericho to set up the fact that it gives him like a legitimate win to help build them back up again. Because even with Jungle Boy wasn't like a legitimate win. It's just they're Jungle Boy's good, but let's face it, Jungle Boy's not like a top singles baby face that you can be like, oh wow, he beat Jungle Boy. Like it's just like, okay, he beat Jungle Boy.
that's the thing. Like he doesn't have enough baby faces to face where a win can be strong enough. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, think about who they have. They have Hangman, they have Cody, they have Moxley, they have maybe Kenny, maybe
Mm-hmm.
catering, but I mean, who else? That's about it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So he can't really get high quality ones where the heels are so many of them,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
because I was gonna say you can more right now with the way it's set up, you can actually build a good baby face off of it, like a Darby Allin. There, you have him. You can have him take on MJF, Jericho. Um, I mean, Moxley was still a good match there, but I mean, you have enough heels where you can build up a baby face. Is the problem is that um, I personally don't feel like Darby Allin's a good baby face. Like
no. Of course,
I don't really build any sympathy to him. And then Jungle Boy too. Like Jungle Boy had in the beginning, I was all for Jungle Boy, and now it's just kind of like, okay, there's Jungle Boy. Like I don't feel like he's where he was when he started with him and Luchasaurus. Where I was like, oh yeah, Jurassic Express. Now it's just like, okay, there's Jurassic Express. Which I don't know if that's just oversaturation too with the COVID.
do you know who their best babyface in AEW is? Their top babyface?
Who?
Marco Stunt. Just kidding. You miss Marco Stunt though. I'm not gonna lie, little fucking bastard.
Right. So yeah, that's where I just kind of feel like. But like you said, it's a slow burn, and they're still trying to figure things out. So we'll see how that goes. But at some point, they got to really start crafting the future because there's only so much longer that we can say, well, they're still trying to figure it out. I mean, they're a year into it, but I'd probably say within the next year, if it's still kind of in the same place, you're kind of not really growing. Because I get it, you have to build your crowd for the TV. So this whole last year, putting it on WWE guys, I get it because you need to have the names to draw people. But this whole like next year for Dynamite, they really need to start building more homegrown stars if they really want to grow from there and take off and be the alternative that they keep speaking about.
This FTR match finally freaking STU's back together. Like, what the hell,
Yes.
guys? Like, they broke up, do their own weird things, like single match, and then finally put them together against FTW.
Yes, and then you had Sean Spears on the outside, which that was a weird tease. So we're looking probably at Sean Spears and Scorpio Sky having a feud here coming up because he was like, "Good luck, guys," and then Scorpio Sky was just looking at him all ugly. So then Christopher Daniels gets ejected from ringside, middle of the match.
Because it was Dax or Cash. He was like, he tripped me.
Mm-hmm.
I love how good heels they are. I mean, this match, it's your base. I thought there was going to be a little bit more high flying, like offensive for SCU, but I mean, it was just pretty much chain wrestling to start off with, some heel work from FTR, like heel wrestling. And then, they pretty much win by a, heel tactics.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw, did they both hit like cutters? But it was like, I think Scorpion hit a cutter on one person, and then the other person hit a cutter on Kazarian.
It looks like they both hit a cutter on FTR. It says SCU hit a pair of cutters on FTR.
What was it? Although I thought it was 1-on-1, and I thought it was.
Yeah, no, it looks like they both did at the same time, but then Sky ends up colliding. Frankie and Scorpio both collide at the same time.
Yeah, then that's when they did the roll up. See that? I thought it was. I don't know why I thought this. I was driving at the time when I was watching this too, so or I was listening to the background. I was driving, but I thought they were gonna do it where like they both do it and then they count at the same time.
Yeah.
Usually who won, but that's what I thought was gonna happen. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it ended up being Tully holding down Sky's boots so they won't kick out. So Tully ended up assisting with the win. Then after that, because Hangman was on commentary, I think at this point. Or yeah. So I love that part when Hangman's sitting there, and then Taz is like, "What are you drinking?" And he's like, "Whiskey." And he's like, "Can I have some?" And he's like, "I would, but I only poured it for me, so no." He's like, "Oh, it's okay." He's all, "I don't." He's all, "Plus Excalibur would have just drank it on the way when you slid it down the table." So I thought that was a funny little banter there. So yeah, so then they announced right before the match, before Jericho and Isaiah Cassidy, that Tony Khan has announced that there's going to be a single elimination tournament, 8-man tournament now, for the um, for a title shot at the world title. So he announces 3 out of the 8, which is going to be Jungle Boy, Ray Phoenix, and then he ends with Kenny Omega when Hangman pretty much almost chokes on his whiskey and gets up and leaves. And he's like, "Is that a shock to you?" And then they're like, "Why would you announce Kenny in the tournament with Hangman right here? Like, that's just dumb."
You know what that's like? That's like when you think like you're talking to your ex girlfriend and you think you're gonna get back with her.
Yes.
She's dating this other guy. You're like, that's exactly it. I felt so bad for Hangman. I was like, oh, buddy.
Yeah, I know. I was the same. That's exactly what I thought too when he said it. And I was like, I feel so bad for Hangman. I was like, the whole turning him babyface with the sympathy with all this going on, I thought definitely works. So if they're on different sides of the bracket, that's the final. It's gonna be Hangman and Kenny. I'm calling it now. If they're on the same side, they'll probably either be like the second or the semifinals that they're gonna fight each other.
Yeah, I think so too. I
But
think he talk his way, like he's gonna like he'll talk to trying to like get his way in, and then yeah.
mm-hmm. So yeah, that's where I think that's gonna end. Now I'm really surprised they put Ray Phoenix. But I'm thinking Ray Phoenix, if Pentagon's not in there, gets taken out because of Pentagon.
That's true.
And that's where they were teasing earlier a couple of weeks ago. So it'll work that way where he'll cost them the match and then that'll set up the Lucha Brothers match. Or if he's in there, they're gonna end up being on the same side and they're gonna have a Lucha Brothers match and build more seeds into them breaking up. So we'll see where that goes. But I'm assuming then that means MJF is not going to be in this tournament.
I don't think he would.
Because he's going to be busy with Jericho.
You know, and I think they're going to put him in some type of faction, and then he'll get another shot probably. Mm-hmm. But if Kenny wins this tournament, then I think they may put the belt on him as a heel. You know, but I mean we don't know who the next 5 are, so we can't see word comes over. But
yeah. So we'll see. But I'm assuming it's going to be somebody from Eddie Kingston's family in there. So I don't know if we'd see Eddie Kingston. Well, I mean, here he did. You have Ray Phoenix. But yeah, I really don't know who we would pick out. I mean, if they are going to have, you do have to put Jericho and MJF in there, though. Like, I don't know how they're picking them, but you would assume that it's the best singles wrestler, so you would have to have them in there. I would make them the first round match. That way, like whoever wins the match would cost the other one in the next match because they're upset that they lost. And then that would just build the feud for Full Gear. Be like, well, MJF won in the first round, Jericho took him out in the second round, and then they're now gonna fight in Full Gear because they both got eliminated. But yeah, so after the announcement, we cut to Isaiah Cassidy versus Chris Jericho, both accompanied by their factions. So the rest of Private Party and Matt Hardy versus all of the Inner Circle at ringside. Was it a squash match? At this point, I kind of tuned out, so I'm not sure.
It was like it was a good back and forth, but I think how it ends is pretty much Isaiah Cassidy gets a lot of offense in. Mm-hmm. He looks strong, and then the match really ends in DQ because I think Jericho and Hager end up attacking Luther and Serpentico.
Mm-hmm.
I might be getting that mixed up with last week though.
Yeah, because it's saying here that he won clean after Cassidy went for a springboard, but then Jericho hit him with the Judas effect and pinned him. And then that after the match, that's when Hager and Jericho beat up Luther and Pentago. But they're saying that Excalibur noted that that was one of Jericho's first rivals when he first started off was Luther, back when he was in the dungeon. So that's what I guess they're going to set up for next week, to celebrate the 30 years of Jericho.
Random.
Yeah. So, which I love the comments when they talk about it on AEW's website, and they're like, he should be spending his 30 years in WWE, not AEW. And I'm like, dude, he's wrestled pretty much in every company over the world. Cause I think he even wrestled in Mexico too. I was like, he pretty much can have his 30 years anywhere he wants. So then they cut to Miro and Kip Sabian hanging out in an arcade. I don't understand why Kip Sabian decides to wear a crop top everywhere he goes. It's just kind of weird. So then they show him talking about it, and that Miro's talking about that he's going to plan him the best one ever. And then for the nerds who don't know, Billy Mitchell shows up, who is the world record holder for arcade games. And he's the one that has the record for Donkey Kong, which is a whole like documentary on it about supposedly how he cheated and whatever. So that's why he's like associated at the end, in case nobody knew who he was or what importance he has, is that he's a big video game person, and seeing how Kip and Mero are both Twitch streamers and they're big into gaming. It's having the Holy Grail. It's like us having Hulk Hogan hang out with us and plan our bachelor party. So that's the whole importance of that segment, which is cool, but I'd like to see more storyline based on Miro wrestling and not so much about the stupid wedding. Because we all know how weddings turn out in wrestling in general. They never end up good. So we'll see where that goes. Then from there, they jump to Best Friends being interviewed by Dasha, with Orange Cassidy. They talk about, or FTR comes and interrupts the interview, calls himself the top guys, and says that Best Friends act like they're going to hit FTR, so they flinch, and then Orange Cassidy takes the mic and calls them weenies. Which then leads to Orange Cassidy versus Dark Order's number 10 to fight there, and then 10 gets hit with the orange punch, and that's pretty much the end of it there. Nothing really important in that match either. They just kind of go back and forth there to kill time. Then jumping into one of the best segments of the night, which is a really good treat to everybody who's been following AEW since like day one. So Jericho or MJF goes into the Inner Circle's locker room with gifts for everybody. So he gets them all Inner Circle jackets, and he gets one for everybody except Sammy. And then Sammy's like, "It's okay, but what the hell are you doing here?" And Jericho's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, chill, Sammy." And he's like, "Okay, so what the hell are you doing here?" So that he's like, "I just wanted to bring you a gift to celebrate." And he's like, "Well, these are nice jackets. We appreciate it, but I got to ask you one thing that I've asked you a long time ago." And he's like, "Do you want to join the Inner Circle?" And then he's like, "Well, Chris, I don't want to be rude, but I asked you a question a long time ago. Do you want me to join the Inner Circle?" And playing back to the first time they did the segment, they go back and forth until Hager gets mad and starts walking up on Warlord. So they start going face to face, and Jericho's like, "Just chill, chill." And then he congratulates him on the 30 years of wrestling, and they both see themselves out. And then Sammy turns to Jericho and says, "What a loser," and Jericho finishes by saying, "Perhaps he's not." And that ends the segment. It's pretty funny back and forth between them there.
I love that segment. It was hilarious. And I remember watching it. And he's like, "How did you forget the jacket?" He's like, oh, Sammy. Well, it's funny because, like, as he's handing them out, like, he's literally looking at the jacket and, like, reading the name on it, like, handing it to them, so just, like, getting it randomly.
Yeah.
And he's just like, here.
Yeah. That's what I thought was funny. So I was like, does that mean we're gonna potentially see a Sammy MJF match? I'm totally down to see one of those.
Oh yeah, I think that'd be good.
So we'll see, or maybe that's. I don't know how that would work though. I say maybe that's what we're gonna build to, where it's gonna be a swap, where they're gonna kick out like Sammy because they're trying to push Sammy as like a baby face. So maybe they get him like kick. MJF ends up getting him kicked out of Inner Circle, and then MJF replaces him, and then that ends up being like the new Inner Circle. But I don't want that because I still want him to pretend to sing Jericho's theme song.
I think Sammy's better as a heel than a babyface, honestly. So
yeah, and I think it's just the whole fact of his COVID time when he was singing, but that doesn't mean that I want him as a babyface. It's just I really enjoy when he tries to sing Chris Jericho's theme song. And I think that's the like misinterpretation that they're getting from that is that like, oh, well, he needs to be a babyface because everybody loves it when he sings the song. And it's like, or they love him. And it's like, not so much we love him. We just love when he sings the song and butchers it.
Yeah.
I was like, I still like him as the asshole. Same with the whole signs. Like the signs are cool because it's him being an asshole and the signs are funny. But if the signs are like babyface signs, I don't think they'd be as funny.
He's the only one who can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's where I would like to keep him with that. But I wouldn't be surprised if that does happen. So we'll see where that goes. And then maybe you have him join Private Party, and then now it's the Sex God and Private Party with Matt Hardy. It'd be weird, but maybe that's where they go with it. So then from there you have Britt Baker DD with Reba taking on Red Velvet, not the Cake, an actual wrestler. You said it was just another squash match.
Yeah, it was a quick match, and then they just applied a lockjaw at the end. Did you know Reba was a Cowboys cheerleader? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they mentioned it in I think like the second episode when she was supposed to wrestle, and they're like, she was a Cowboys cheerleader. She's never wrestled, but yeah, she's wrestled before in TNA. So that's the running joke. That they keep pretending that she's never wrestled, but she has. Then after the match, they did announce, like I mentioned earlier, because I didn't read these notes ahead of time, that Jericho and Hager are going to take on Chaos Project, which is Luther and Serpentico, next week, and that Will Hobbs will go one-on-one with Brian Cage, and then of course Mr. Brody Lee will be defending the title in the dog collar match against Cody. So it looks like the card's shaping up pretty good for next week. And then due to COVID, we had to rewrite the endings. So they had Eddie Kingston come out, and I don't know why, but he had the ability to pick the opponent for Moxley tonight for the match. So then he comes out with...
It was because he was supposed to have a rematch. And then he's like, no, I'm not fighting. I'm picking my choice, I think, instead of him fighting.
Yeah, so he comes out with the Lucha Brothers, and then he announces that it's going to be Butcher.
Well, he pretty much told stuff like I never tapped, and like, like I didn't quit. Like, then why did you like ring the bell? So they're gonna beat up the ref and blame it, and then Moxley comes out trying to save, and then that's when Butcher comes from behind and like attacks him, and it's like, yeah, now that's who you're gonna fight.
Yeah, and then Moxley ends up with the win and the hoopla. Yeah, I really didn't watch the video. So yeah, so that ends up setting up. Yeah, so Butcher taps thanks to Moxley.
How do you feel about I mean, essentially, it was a. How do you feel about Moxley? I don't like him. I think he's boring.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. I don't want to say he's boring. I want to say unless his matches aren't like hardcore, it's just like he just I don't know. It's just like generic. You know what I mean?
I just feel like, which is kind of the same issue you had in WWE. Not so much that he doesn't have good promo. It's just he doesn't know how to make the non-wrestling stuff entertaining. Because, yeah, like you said, the deathmatch stuff is good. But, like, there with the whole MJF and him, like, he tries to put too much comedic into it. Like there when he's like, "Oh, he didn't check page 17,"
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, it's funny, but his character shouldn't be funny. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of like the later years with Stone Cold when he was like with the Alliance, where he was funny and he go kick everybody's ass. Like it was okay because it was something different. But if he would have done that from when he was first champion and fighting Vince McMahon, like I don't think Stone Cold would have been a big of a star if he was an ass kicker and then a comedian.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of feel like with Moxley, that's where it's at right now. That he is trying to be a badass, but then he's trying to throw the comedic in there because that's just how his personality is. But it's kind of like a dry humor, so it's not really as doesn't pan through on camera like it should. And that's where it's kind of like the whole like thing with Darby Allin, where he's like, "You remind me of me." Like the only thing is that you need to know when to quit, but I know you won't because I wouldn't know. Like that promo kind of like fits the character, and like that was kind of getting me hyped for the match. But yeah, it's just the certain ways that he does it. Same with like the 6-man where he's like, "Oh yeah, I got Will Hobbs, and now Darby Allin, wherever you're at, bring your ass over so we can have the 6-man next week." Like it doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't resonate for me, especially for somebody who's supposed to be like the high end champion and stuff. Like I think that's my issue because his wrestling's okay, but he's never. I mean, he always was like the third wheel on the Shield. Like Seth Rollins would put the good match on, Roman was the powerhouse, and then Dean Ambrose was just there to be Dean Ambrose.
The goofy. He's like a goofy guy, you know. It just is like,
Yeah,
what he wants to do. Does he want to be goofy or does he want to be serious?
exactly, and that's where it kind of lies, and that's where like yeah, he's good for the death matches, and we know after the one with Kenny, like he made his point, and it was all controversial and stuff. But it's like I think he needs more of a character change if he's gonna not be the death match wrestler. But yeah, I don't feel like him having the belt really does much.
Because he
Cause,
reminds me of Dean Ambrose, the way he acts.
mm-hmm,
You know, it's just kind of like, you're just like, oh, look at me. I'm crazy. Oh, yeah, I'm a little cuckoo.
mm-hmm.
Kind of like.
So it's just kind of like, eh. So I really don't know where to go with him. But yeah, I would like to see somebody else for the title. I love these long runs. It makes sense. I just been so ingrained that, we change the belt every like 3-4 months.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, let's move on. Especially, I guess, more if it's like the championship feuds were a lot better. I think I wouldn't have any problem with it. Because, like, even Jericho, like, Jericho's run, they were still pretty good feuds. You had Hangman for the first title. You had Cody on the second one. And then the whole string with Moxley was just a good build-up, too. Like, it was just a good hype. But, I mean, I guess you can tack that on to more Jericho being able to control the promos and stuff. But I felt like all those matches were, like, legit championship matches. And then with Moxley, I just don't feel like it. It's like, what? He had Brody Lee. Then after Brody Lee, he had who do you have before that? Brian Cage, and then Jake Hager. Like none of those have big name fights to them. The only one that did was MJF, but obviously it still wasn't enough to like justify his championship. I think he just needs some more. But like you said, it goes back to the problem that I mean he's supposed to be the baby face, but I don't feel like he carries it enough for you to feel bad because I think that's also the other problem is that he's not the innocent babyface that gets beat up that you want him to overcome the bad guy. Like Chris Jericho is annoying and an asshole, so you hate Jericho, which is what a heel's supposed to do. So you're supposed to be like, I hate that guy. I don't want him to win. So that's where you end up rooting for Cody and everybody else to beat him. And I feel like you don't get that sympathy for Moxley, and I think that's part of the problem why it's not clicking as well either.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's just like, oh, he's a badass, and then
like compared to like Cody and you know what I mean, like you don't get sympathy. You can't feel for him, Where Cody, like, he's that emotional.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, like that he got destroyed and murdered, like dog collar match. You're looking for, whatever the match would have been, just a rematch in general. You're gonna look forward to it because, like, well, he got destroyed, so let's see how he overcomes it.
Yeah.
And you never get that. Moxley gets beat up a little bit, but then next week here he comes with the baseball bat beating up everybody. It's just like, okay, so you can handle yourself. Why are we gonna worry about it? So that's where, like, that's like winning the title was perfect because you had all of Inner Circle like ganging up on him, even if you didn't have the stupid he lost an eye gimmick going. Just the fact that every time he tried, he was outnumbered by the Inner Circle, like that built the sympathy that you wanted him to beat Jericho because Jericho one was annoying, and then everybody kept putting the odds against him. So like it made it great when he won, but after that he hasn't had that same. Which of course you can't run the same storyline, but I mean, like there with MJF, MJF just proved that he can't speak on the mic. If Moxley had mic skills, that would have been a great promo back and forth. And other than Cody, I really don't know babyface wise who does have that mic skills to compete with somebody like MJF. So or just have The Rock come and be somebody's manager and just let him cut the promos with MJF. That'd be a good promo. The Rock and MJF just getting promos on each other.
The Rock and MJF?
Yes.
I don't think The Rock would ever go to AEW. You know what? No, The Rock, I think he's done it before. He's so big. He's like, I don't care. He'll do whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's how supposedly he's going to come out on Impact. Because Ken Shamrock's going into their Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And he was like, I wish The Rock can induct me because like that's where all my famous like wrestling matches came from. Yeah. And The Rock's like, don't worry, I'll record something and send it to you here in the next couple of days. So he's supposed to like pop up and stuff. So we'll see. But overall, I think I really didn't get to watch the show, so I can't really grade it. But based on what I saw, the opening was pretty good the first hour.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, this show was, I think it was all right. Mm-hmm. There could be better. There were better shows than this. Mm-hmm. So it was like, if I had to grade it between like the Go Home show before All Out, which was, I didn't think it was really good compared to one of the better shows. I think this was in the middle. Mm-hmm. So I think. Is it better than NXT still? Yes.
I was gonna say, and I think a lot of it is still kind of rebuilding since.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I think they had to kind of regroup because they're getting a lot of the people back now. Mm-hmm. So, I will say though, it does help the fans.
Yes.
Having the fans there, and I wish I lived in. Well, I don't wish I lived in Florida. I wish that AEW was in Texas and that I could get a season pass.
Yes.
Or season tickets.
Or Florida was like a town over, like an hour drive. And just cross over the state line.
Yeah.
But that was a show in a nutshell. So thank you guys for tuning into episode 4. We'll promise we'll have these back on Saturdays. Starting this week, we got a schedule here that should work good recording in the future. To have everything ready for Saturday. So with that being said, I'm G the Cholo. I'm G the Chino.
I'm Mike the Cholo. Try to steal my thunder.
So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.